All right, so let's talk about what notes do I play, or what notes do I choose. Now, one of the songs that I'm going to use as an example is George Gershwin's "Our Love Is Here to Stay." Right? But before we get into that, let's talk about when you improvise, you are creating an alternate melody. Now, think about that for a second. When you have a melody, the melody of "Our Love Is Here to Stay," and by the way, I'm just going to use simple chord shelves down here in the left hand, just root 7s or root 3s. So, all right, so there's the first couple of measures of "Our Love Is Here to Stay." So the melody is, "It's very clear, our love is here to stay," right? All right, there's your melody part. Now, if you're going to improvise, you're going to be creating an alternative or an alternate melody, meaning that the chord structure is going to stay probably relatively the same. Of course, we could do reharmonizations and whatnot, but by and large, for the most part, it's going to stay pretty much the same as what it was with the song. But the melody part, or the improvisation part, is going to be different. Now, I say that you're going to be creating an alternate melody, and the reason I use the word melody is that too often we forget that, oh, hey, our improvisation should sound melodic. Right? So if I do this for my improvisation, doesn't sound very melodic, does it? All right? It wouldn't be a very nice improvisation to listen to. So if we look at the shape of melodies, see how it goes up and then down, right? You know, it goes up, down, up. Right? So you can see this melodic shape. You don't have just a line that just keeps going up or a line that just keeps going down. Very important to remember when improvising. So you're looking for that melodic motion, that melodic shape. You're looking for your lines to have these peaks and valleys, ups and downs. So you're moving up, you're moving down. This applies to all instruments. All right, so now the question is, what notes do I choose? The first thing that you can do is you can always just mess around with the melody. A lot of jazz improvisers, you know, in the 20s and the 30s, you would hear them do things like that, where they would take a melody that, you know, they'd be kind of just messing around with the melody, doing little fills or whatnot around the melody. Not full-blown improvisation. Let's talk about how you can do that. And this is a great place to start with your improvisation. You can start by just taking that melodic phrase. Now you see that we end on that F, and we play that for 4 beats, or we hold it down for 4 beats, I should say. And there's things that you can do with that. You can play F major 7 or F6. I'll probably go back and forth between the two. So you can hear how I'll go down a half step, up a step, all right? So I kind of mess around with this. Instead of going like this, I did. But notice I'm still using exactly the same notes from the melody. What if I went the other way? I can kind of do like almost a retrograde. It's not really a retrograde. A retrograde would be backwards. But this, you know, I'm doing the line instead of starting down here. I'm going from here and then going back up. So what I'm doing is I'm using the melody as my springboard for improvisation. I'm using the melody to come up with ideas for my improvisation. That is a great way to start if you're a beginning improviser. And what you do is find those notes that hold out and just go up a half step, down a half step. It's not always going to sound good, and sometimes it's going to sound bad, but that's okay for right now. Okay? Now, let's just take a look at that. Why did that F sharp sound so bad? Well, let's think about what our chord is. Our chord is a G dominant 7th chord, F sharp on a G7 chord. It just ain't going to sound all that good, is it? All right? It's going to sound pretty bad. However, if I went up to the G, that's going to sound good. Going down a half step isn't so bad. All right? What if I went down to E flat? That sounds a little too weird. The E, I'm sorry, yeah, the E isn't bad because, well, it would be considered the 13th on my G dominant 7th chord. Now remember, if you don't understand what that means, 9, 13, 7th, don't worry about it for right now. You can actually let your ear be the guide for your improvisation. Just play the chord, even the shell. All right, do you like the sound of it? Great. If you don't, try changing it to a different note. Or just take the same note and just apply a different rhythm. All right, so that's the basic way of starting and choosing which notes to play. Just take the notes that you already have in your melody, utilize those notes, and then maybe do some little half step above or below those notes, especially where the note ends up holding out for a while, like da 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 da. On that note, you don't want to just hold it out for 4 beats. You want to do something with it. So you can apply a rhythm to that note, or try going up a half step, down a half step. When going up or down a half step, if one of those notes sounds a little bit funny, change it to a whole step, all right? Or don't go to that note. Let your ear be the guide. Your ear will start to strengthen, and you're going to start to hear, oh, yeah, okay, that sounds good or that doesn't sound good. It is important to remember that, yes, there are universities, there are books, there are videos, and people will say, this is how you improvise. Guess what? There's really no one way of improvising, all right? You'll have players like Cecil Taylor playing stuff all over the keyboard, all over the piano, all right? Is that improvisation? Is it right? Is it wrong? You have to make your own mind up as to what it is that you like the sound of. Now, of course, you might want to improvise like a Keith Jarrett, a Brad Mehldau, Chick Corea, Herbie Hancock, whoever, Bill Evans, who wouldn't want to improvise like them? But you have to understand that you are a unique individual, you have your own unique voice, and your improvisation is going to be different than everyone else's, which is a good thing, okay? Which means that you have something to give, you have something to offer in terms of improvisation. But you need to feel confident, and you need to start to really listen and say, I like this or I don't like this, this is why. You need to start making those decisions for yourself. But if you're a beginning improviser, this is a great place to start. Just start with that melodic stuff first. Now, when we come back, what I'm going to do is I'm going to talk about some rhythmic stuff. What are some rhythmic options that you can apply to these notes? All right, we got a lot more stuff to cover, so I'll see you in the next chapter.